The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm really thrilled to be here with you on this Thursday morning. We are just a week away from the big Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States. I am ridiculously excited about it, if you can't tell. And yet there are things about it that can be really hard. And we're going to talk about some of those things on the show today because it's not equal and even for everyone, right? There's a whole lot of people who are like, hello, Shannon, you know, Thanksgiving means that I get less services. So we're going to chat about that a little bit because maybe it doesn't have to mean that depending on who you are and where you are. Okay. So Traven's got a whole bunch of ways that he wants to remind you that you can connect with us here because we're going to be with you live for the next hour. We're going to be talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. So no matter who you are in this big, beautiful melange of a spectrum, we hope that there's something for you. We're here to provide information and inspiration to help you to get to wherever you have to go. We know it's not one size fits all. And so it helps us when you give us your feedback. So he's showing you some of the different ways that you can connect. While he does that, I do want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. And there it is. Look at how good Traven is. And when you go there, there's a lot to do on the page. I got to be honest, for some people it might be a little overwhelming, but I like to say, take what you want and leave the rest. Like, you don't have to do the full functionality of the website, but if you just like to chat, go down to the chat button, click the chat, it opens up, and you have an anonymous free way to talk to me and to our guests that we'll have on the show. And it's easy peasy, right? If you are just really particularly interested in the toy guide and that's what you want to focus on, click on the toy guide at the top and you get this year's 2019 toy guide. And we've been telling you all week that if you really like one of the toys, and we sort of segmented it by age and developmental age, because, you know, there's no perfect way to do that. And then we have different categories for each age that we're recommending. And so you can go to the general age range of the individual or their age range ability, if that's more appropriate. And if you find a toy that you like, hover over it with the mouse. And if you click it, it is a hyperlink to a place where you can purchase the toy. I want to reiterate, we've been telling everybody, and it's the absolute truth, we don't get any money from that. It's not an affiliate program. We're not trying to sell you toys. I just want to be 100% clear on that. We picked these toys because parents and therapists and kiddos and teenagers and adults recommended them, and we watched them play with them and went, that's, you know, they voted and we went, okay, votes and this, we saw this, those are the winners. So we just put that there because you asked us to make it easy for you to be able to buy the toys. So we're trying to help you, but this is not a money-making thing for us. Just want to be clear about that. Okay, but there's other things to do on the site too. Watch some of the videos. We tried to segment things into different categories so that you could find things, but there's also a search feature at the top. And if you will put in keywords, hopefully that will help you to find the videos that you're looking for, because we have a library that is massive. But if you're not finding what you're looking for, write into us here and tell us what it is that you would like. We're always happy to take suggestions for segment ideas or show ideas. We really love that because that's what we're here for. I want to be very clear from the jump here that we have lots of experts that are here on the show. I am not one of them. I am not an expert in autism. I'm not even pretending to be one, right? No. Do I have an informed opinion? I think that I do after Oh my gosh. So 14 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and I guess we're coming up on like 12 years ago now that I've been hosting shows about autism and interviewing people. So I've interviewed a lot of people, and I'm still not an expert, but I have an informed opinion about some things, not even about all things, right? I'm generally loudmouth and willing to share my opinion. But I'm here for you. That's the thing that I want you to know, is that this is a place where you can come, no judgment, ask a question of an expert. And, you know, if I, obviously, I'm not the expert. If you want my opinion about something, happy to give it. But we'll find an expert, if we don't already know one, who can maybe answer your question. And there's no cost, and it can be completely anonymous. That's what's really important to me. I know that when I was in the depths of despair after my child was diagnosed, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't want to mess this up. Please don't let me mess this up, right? And the only time that I had really to be a researcher, and a lot of times in the beginning you have to be a researcher, the only place I had to go was not open at 3 in the morning, which was the time that I had available. And I wasn't even coherent. I was going to say the only time that I was available and coherent, I wasn't coherent at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I was searching for answers at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I wasn't finding what I needed, let's say that. And I thought that maybe I needed to go back to college, and I didn't have the time to do that. I already had a master's degree in something and didn't have the time, money, energy. And where was my kid going to be when I did that? So I know what I needed. I needed somebody who was going to tell me it was going to be okay. I needed somebody who was going to point me to resources. I needed somebody to tell me there was something to hope for. So come on, hold my hand. Si se puede. We can do this together. I am happy to be that person for you, to say to you, there are resources. There is hope. There is so much hope, you guys. And as I love Lisa Ackerman from Taka, as she says, when your child gets diagnosed with autism, it is not game over. It is game on. It means we have to step up. It means we have to take action. It means we have to persevere, right? And we have to keep plugging. And sometimes we have to be flexible and try different things, but we need to get serious business. But if you can go there with me, and it's different things for different people, but let's get serious business about whatever you need, and let's make progress, right? Isn't that the thing? Let's be grateful for progress today. Okay, so we like to start every Thursday show with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the hey nani are those experts talking about. We give you the actual definition. Then I like to make fun of the actual definitions, because really, what else can you do with them? If I could make them into doorstops, I would, because they're about only useful for that. But then we give you a working definition where we try to decipher and maybe make the experts break out into hives a little bit, but give you a starting point to begin to understand this. So today's term, and this is, get ready, blow up the world here, DTT. Right? Doesn't it sound like you're about to blow something up? Doesn't it sound like that? Okay, well, let's take a look at what our actual definition is here. Actual definition of DTT is training that focuses on a single cycle of behaviorally based instruction routine. Okay, what? I don't even know, I don't even know what to make fun of there, because it's all words that I understand, but I have no idea what that looks like, what it is, and it's certainly not making me feel warm and fuzzy. All right, so now let's move on to our working definition of DTT. What is this? It's teaching one targeted behavior at a time. All right, let's decode it down a little bit. I mean, this is like, oh, okay, teaching one thing at a time. But I think when we talk about it, you're going to see, oh, it's like really slivering it down to one thing at a time. But I'll be honest with you, DTT, this is the stuff that we see online when people say ABA therapy. And often what you see is a video of DTT, and it's the stuff you don't like. It's the stuff that makes you go, that looks weird. I don't want anybody to talk to my child that way, because it's that touch car, is the thing that I always make fun of. And we all, as parents, turn up our nose and go, oh, that looks like you're training a rhesus monkey or something, and my child is not a dog or a rhesus monkey. I don't like that, right? And I meet parents all the time who are like, I don't want to do ABA. And it's like they make that face like they're smelling something really bad. They're like, oh, and the therapist talk to the kids and they do that really fake voice. Yeah, a lot of times that's the DTT. It's the stuff where the kid is sitting at the table and they go, touch this, touch pen, right? DTT is much bigger than that. That's just one example of DTT, but it is that very contrived, it literally is a contrived moment where we take everything else out of the environment and we just have this little space in which we're going to teach one thing. And often we're going to drill that one thing. And so it looks completely not natural because it's not natural. But here's what I want you to know about DTT. It is one little element of ABA. Tiny little element of ABA. An important one because it's very effective at teaching something to somebody who isn't learning it in other ways, who isn't picking it up in the natural environment. When you think about how a typically developing child develops language and how it's just so organic, right? And they've done all this research on it and they see how it's just these little teeny tiny moments that go together to make the child to be able to say their first word. But each one of those little teeny tiny moments was a child tuning into their environment, putting it all together, and the synapse is growing, and then finally this miracle occurs and the child speaks, right? But what happens when that doesn't happen? What happens when that miracle doesn't happen? Do we just throw the rule book out and go, I guess that child's never going to speak? Well, they used to do that, and now we know that's not the ticket, right? We know that ABA is the single most effective way at helping our kids to learn anything. By the way, it's the single most effective way of teaching anything to anybody, but it just so happens it works with kiddos on the autism spectrum. And a lot of times we will start a lesson with DTT because it's a quick jump start. It's effective, you guys. It is really effective. It's ridiculous and weird and it looks strange. And I don't like that part of it either. But I've seen how if you take, it's just like sewing together this beautiful quilt, right? And it's the first little step. If we were to say, oh, well, the quilt is just pulling out the thread, and needle and putting it through the needle, that's not a quilt, right? It's the first little step. The example that I like to give people is if you want to drive to Las Vegas and you got a car, you want to go to Las Vegas, right? So ABA is the car and Las Vegas is where your child is learning things, right? You want to take the whole car. DTT is the steering wheel. You would never leave and go to Las Vegas and think you're going to arrive at Las Vegas with just the steering wheel. You are never going to get all the way there with just DTT. You'd want to take the whole car. But I don't know about you, I don't think I could get to Las Vegas without a steering wheel, right? DTT, very important part. And parents a lot of times right now are going, we don't want to do that. And I got to be honest with you, the supervisors, the BCBAs are going, oh, parents don't like that. Well, you know what? Ethically, they're tied to doing what's effective. And I just want to say to parents, please, please, please get on board. Watch to make sure that it's just the first step of so many steps for your child to be able to get it in the natural environment. But if you are cheating your child out of that jumpstart moment of learning what they need to learn through DTT, man, you are cheating your child. So DTT takes a moment and it says, I'm just going to teach you this. I'm just going to teach you this. Imagine you go to France and we know immersive, right? You want to learn the language. You've never spoken a word of French. You go to France and we put you in there and you're immersive. You're getting so much language, right? But every once in a while, somebody's at you and you're not picking it up. You're like, I need to get one word in there to anchor it so that I can know whatever. So at some point you go, wait a second, what is the word for pen? Right? Usually the first word you ask for is, what's the word for bathroom, right? But, let's just say, because I got a pen, what's the word for pen? And then and you go, just teach me this one so that I know when I'm hearing it, because this is the word I got to know. And they tell you the word for pen. Now you've got an anchor, and now you can build from there. DTT makes that anchor and helps your child to be able to learn. I know it looks weird. I know it looks funny. I know it makes us all break out into hives. But guess what? It works. Please don't cheat your child out of that element of ABA. Please let your supervisor know that you're on board for this wonky little first step thing, because then you're going to progress into the point where you're doing natural environment training. It makes me break out into hives a little bit that I hear a lot of supervisors who are like, no, we're just going to do NET, natural environment training, because the parents don't like the DTT. You haven't explained it to the parents. Please go back, explain it to the parents. Parents, I've been there with you, saw it, didn't like it, was like, I always tell the therapist, the first time that they said touch car to my son, and I went, we want to go to college. How are we going to get to college from touch car? Guess what? I know how now. I watched, I saw, and we're getting ready to go to college, and we started with touch car. It works. So that's DTT. If you want to know more about that, I can go into more detail, but please embrace it because it's great and it jump starts. It's just the steering wheel, but don't go anywhere without the steering wheel. Okay, let's move on to our question of the day. We always have a question for you, and so I've been asking everybody this question all this week because I think it's vital and important. What is your signature dish that you bring to holiday gatherings? Like, what is the thing that you're known for? The dish that you bring and you know people are going to go gazonga over, that's just really fabulous. The one thing in your repertoire that, I know that one will go, right? When I'm going to be with, because I want to know, what are these things that people make? That's my favorite part of having Thanksgiving with a lot of people. I can't eat most of it. Most of the time I have to bring my own food and my son's own food because we're gluten-free, dairy-free, and I can't have bananas and I can't have red meat, right? But I love to see what dishes people bring and what they are, and watch how people freak out over this dish or that. It's really a time for people to shine and bring their one thing that they are really best at. That's my favorite thing. So write to us and tell us what you bring. A little bit later on, sometime before the weekend, I always post every time, this time of year, my mother, her signature dish was a thing called scallop corn. And it's like a corn pudding almost, but it's savory. It's not a sweet thing. And it's not quite cornbread, but it's not quite creamed corn. It's a scalloped corn. And I have yet to have had somebody, and I now make it the gluten-free, dairy-free version of it. Everyone loves it. My son and I make 2 big pans of it and take it to Gobble Gobble Give every Thanksgiving, which they put plates together with all the things that people bring, and they bring them to the homeless in Los Angeles. And I love knowing that there are people all over Los Angeles that get to have my mother's scallop corn, right? So and I don't really know, my signature dish has changed so much over the years, different things. But there used to be an Arabian squash casserole that I used to make that was my signature dish thing. I don't know, I haven't made it in a long time. Maybe I'll make that this year. What do you guys make? And the Arabian squash dish came from the Moosewood cookbook, for those of you who are going to write in and ask about that. Okay, tell us, what is your dish? And maybe where we can get a recipe, unless it's a family secret. All right, we always have a topic of the week. And our topic this week, we chose very apropos for the week. It is getting our grateful on. And we talk about this all the time, that there's a lot going on in your life right now, right? And I can't possibly begin to know all the things that are going on in your life. But I can tell you that there's at least one thing that you have to be grateful for. I don't know what it is, but I guarantee you there is something that you have to be grateful for. And the truth of the matter is that every day when we wake up, we get to make choices of what we choose to focus on. And you absolutely can focus on all the things that are haywire and wrong. That is absolutely a choice, and I won't ever ask you not to do that if that's what you need to do. But you equally have a choice to focus on the thing that you're grateful for. And the thing that I've learned in my life is that if you choose to focus on the thing that you're grateful for, somehow everything finds a way. And I've been through some stuff, y'all. But everything finds a way if you have your head in the mindset of being grateful for what you have instead of what you don't have. Because heaven knows I have been there too, right? There is something to be grateful for today. My cup runneth over. with the things that I have to be grateful for right now in my life. Could I spend time and think about what I don't have? Absolutely. Because on the top of that list would be, that I would wish that my mom was still here to be with us, right? And I could focus on that all day long today. But instead, I choose to be grateful for every single moment that she was with us. And for me, just that little shift of the concept is everything. And in doing that, I feel that I live more what she would have wanted me to live. I think all the time about how will I want my son to react when I am no longer here. And I don't want him to sit and be, woe is me. I want him to celebrate who and what I was and live that, right? And that's what a grateful mindset can do in the moment for you. So what are you grateful for? Let's get our grateful on. Write in and let us know. See, you got me crying. Gonna have to mop down. All right, we got a big show for you. So let's start with any minute now. We're gonna have Elizabeth Ho with us. She is amazing. She's a wonderful autism expert. She's gonna be answering some questions from you guys. And then a little bit later on in the program, we have Mike Acerra is going to be with us from Blox. Do you guys know about Blox? If you watch the show in the holiday season, you know that I love Blox. So this this doozy of I guess it's like a motor cannon. I don't know what it is, but it's got 2 wheels in the back and 1 wheel up here. This is Blox. They are a building construction toy, but like no other construction toy that I've ever seen before, with a flexibility, literally, that this particular item doesn't do this, but you can make things that expand and move and get smaller and bigger. So we're going to have Mike talk with us about their newest line of Blox toys that allow for the wheels and the movements and the gears and things. These are great toys for our kids on the spectrum. So we'll talk with him a little bit later on. And then we've got some other toys that we're going to be featuring as well, because it is full on Festival of Toy Time. So all of that plus your questions, and we're going to try to squeeze in a mindfulness moment. Deal? All right, let's take a break and come right back with Elizabeth Ho.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Arts and craft activities are a great way to practice on skills you're already working on with your child. For the month of November, we'll be making a paper corn. The skill we're going to be focusing on with this activity is fine motor, more specifically the pincher grasp. You'll see why in just a moment. Depending on the skill level of your child, you can also have them help you fold the paper, trace the silhouette of the corn, or cut it out. It all depends on what you want to be focusing on today. The materials you'll be needing are paper, tissue paper, a pencil, glue, and a cup of water and paintbrush if you're using the wet glue, scissors, and a template you can download from our website at facebook.com/autismlive. And don't forget to like us while you're there. Or you can always just draw it from your imagination. All right, let's start the activity. First I want to do is take my tissue paper I bought from the store and turn it into strips that I can then turn into squares. Again, they don't need to be perfect squares because we're going to be changing its form anyways in the end. All right, and as you can see, I've done it to several different colors. I cheated, and they're all right here for me to use. All right, the next thing we want to do is to make the shape that we're going to be gluing all the kernels onto. I have my template that I already downloaded from facebook.com/autismlive, and now I'm going to use this to make the form that we're going to be gluing onto. I'm going to take one of my pieces of paper, I'm going to fold it in half. This way the corn will be symmetrical. Once it's been folded in half, I'm going to take my form and then I'm going to trace around it. And again, depending on your child's skill level, either you can do it or the child can do it. But again, the focus of this activity is the pincher grasp. All right, now that I have it traced, I'm going to cut it out. And ta-da, here is my blank corn, but it's missing its kernels. So now that's what we're gonna be working on. I'm gonna use this glue, but you can always use a glue stick as well. The reason why I like this one is that it doesn't dry as fast. So I'm gonna squeeze it all over my corn and then take my paintbrush, dip it in some water, and then smear it all over the corn. The next step is making the kernels. What your child is gonna do is take one of the tissue squares and practice their pincher grasp. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And once they have this, then they're gonna place it onto the corn. And as you can see, it's got a lot of surface area to cover with these kernels, so lots of opportunities to practice their pincher grasp. And ta-da, it's done. As you can see, lots of opportunity to practice your child's pincher grasp. When you're finished, don't forget to share your pictures online at facebook.com/autism-live. I look forward to seeing them and see you soon. Bye.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Hi, Lisa Ackerman back with your Talk of Facts, the autism journey questions and answers that you need to help your child make the progress they need. I'm here to talk to you about one really important item. A lot of people ask me the question, well, Lisa, I want to see this specialist in another state. How do I do that? You know, I don't own a jet. I don't have the ability to fly without great pain and travel. Not a problem. We know how to get this done. So I actually encourage families, even though when travel can be a tremendous hardship, getting a child with autism through security, through the plane, and in the journey to where they need to go. We have a whole white paper on TACA about how to travel with special needs kids. So it can be done. So travel, we know that can be expensive. Not everyone has an unlimited supply of cash for air flights. We love and work with this group called miracleflights.org. They're fantastic. They will fly you and your child, so one parent, one adult, anywhere in the United States, one time a year. Also in the TACA document are places to stay. So often you will have people in your life that love and support your family and don't know exactly how to help. Ask them to gift you their travel or their rewards cards or coupons for hotel, rental car. That's a great way to be able to get maybe a hotel room that has a refrigerator or a microwave and that's close to a Whole Foods, so you don't have that added cost of going out to dinner, especially if your kid has a lot of allergies. It's important to note that there's not a pediatrician or a specialist by every Starbucks in the United States. Close does not always equal best. So I bring up the travel point so you know that travel is possible, number one, and often it's really going to help you get down the road faster for your kid and getting the answers you need from the specialist that knows what to do. So don't be afraid to travel.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have a segment that we feature a lot of times on Thursdays, Ask an Autism Expert. And our expert today is Elizabeth Ho. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you.
We're so thrilled to have you today. Elizabeth, tell the folks at home what your role is at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders.
So I'm a clinical manager up at the Portland East location in Portland, Oregon. And I help primarily running the center in regards to clinical quality. So I carry a caseload myself and do clinical supervision, but I also like to say that my main job is to supervise the supervisors. So I make sure that the overall clinical quality for all the kids at the center is up to our CARD standards and mentor and kind of groom new supervisors as they come in.
Wonderful. And so, Elizabeth, we have some questions for you, and they kind of go in a series, and they kind of all go together. So the first question is, what is a 504 plan?
The 504 plan is taken from the 504 section within the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and that's a civil rights act. And the 504 section dictates that individuals with a disability who participate in federally funded services, such as public schools, they have the right to access necessary accommodations within that environment. So the plan is developed with the school team similar to an IEP, but there's no restrictions on the type of disability like there is with an IEP. So the students don't have to qualify with specific disabilities to get a 504 plan. They can have any disability, and it doesn't require ongoing documentation for progress or growth. There should still be like annual meetings for 504 plans, but again, it's usually less restricted. There's no age limit on it, and it usually focuses more on accommodations and modifications rather than specialized services.
Okay, so just to deconstruct that, so would it be too fine of a point to say that an IEP is a little bit more structured and definitely if you have a child on the autism spectrum that you might want to look more to the IEP than to the 504, or does it really depend on the kiddo?
It really depends on the kiddo. The IEP is more specialized and has more specifics on what type of instructions or accommodations are going to be given. They're very similar, and most of our families do tend to do IEPs. But the IEP, the 504 difference is that maybe that the child doesn't need such heavy, intensive services at school to access the curriculum, so they would qualify more for a 504 versus the IEP.
Got it. Well, and that sort of segues into our next question is who needs a 504 plan?
504 plans are developed for like any student with any disability. So that could be a wide range. That could include autism, but it could also be kids with wheelchairs. And it's a civil rights law versus the education law, which dictates the IEPs. So any student with a disability who needs accommodations or support to function or access the curriculum within the regular classroom environment, and that's usually the key. So if you have a student that has autism or your child has autism and they do well academically and socially, but they're forgetful and they might need like a visual reminder to unpack their backpack and turn in assignments, those are the type of kids that might need a 504 plan versus the IEP. Or if your kid needs some extra time to complete tasks, but they don't need modifications to the curriculum, they would qualify for a 504 plan as well.
Okay, which segues into our next question, which is who needs the IEP?
So the IEP is for those who need more intrusive or specialized instruction. So those who qualify are usually students with disabilities and that fall within the 13 categories that are outlined in the Individuals with Disability Act. So not all individuals with disabilities qualify for an IEP. Autism is one of them. So those students who would need specialized instruction or special education, usually it's a student who would not be able to access the school curriculum within the general classroom environment without some sort of supports. So that could be modified curriculum, that could be pull-out for special education, that could be aids for safety reasons. So those students who just wouldn't be, who need some sort of modification or pull-outs because they otherwise wouldn't be able to participate in public education.
Elizabeth, I think that's the best I've ever heard anybody explain these things. Honestly, that's super fabulous. We can't thank you enough for shedding some light on this because I think it's a point of confusion for a lot of people. And I have to say, as much as I'm a former school teacher and I love schools, often they don't make it easy for a parent to understand what your child's rights are. They'll thrust a booklet at you and say, oh, now we've given you your rights. But even that is something that's hard to wade through. So knowing whether you need an IEP, whether you need a 504, it can be a really difficult thing. But we really appreciate you taking the time to explain it to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I worked very heavily in public school systems myself. I know that it's so complicated, and like you said, it's not clear for parents, and most of the parents don't know their rights or the differences. So I'm happy to help and clarify some of those things. Thank you, Shannon. Shannon.
Thank you so much for being with us, and give our best to everybody up there.
I will. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was the wonderful Elizabeth Ho, and I promised you an expert, and there she was. So hopefully that sheds a little bit of light for you guys on the difference between the IEP and the 504. Both are mandated by federal laws, right? It's just that sometimes our kiddos will do better with the 504, and sometimes they need the IEP. But it is not uncommon for a child to go from an IEP to a 504 plan, right? And sometimes we have kiddos that are on the 504 plan that what they really need is an IEP. So hopefully that shed a little bit of light for you. We are going to take a break, and then I believe that we are coming back with the fabulous, I don't know whether we're having Heather or Mike. I think we're having Mike Acerra from Blox, one of my favorite toy items of the year. So stick with us.
Arts and craft activities are a great way to practice on skills you're already working on with your child. For the month of November, we'll be making a paper corn. The skill we're going to be focusing on with this activity is fine motor, more specifically the pincher grasp. You'll see why in just a moment. Depending on the skill level of your child, you can also have them help you fold the paper, trace the silhouette of the corn, or cut it out. It all depends on what you want to be focusing on today. The materials you'll be needing are paper, tissue paper, a pencil, glue, and a cup of water and paintbrush if you're using the wet glue, scissors, and a template you can download from our website at facebook.com/autism-live. And don't forget to like us while you're there. Or you can always just draw it from your imagination. All right, let's start the activity. First I want to do is take my tissue paper I bought from the store and turn it into strips that I can then turn into squares. Again, they don't need to be perfect squares because we're going to be changing its form anyways in the end. All right, and as you can see, I've done it to several different colors. I cheated, and they're all right here for me to use. All right, the next thing we want to do is to make the shape that we're going to be gluing all the kernels onto. I have my template that I already downloaded from facebook.com/autism-live, and now I'm going to use this to make the form that we're going to be gluing onto. I'm going to take one of my pieces of paper, I'm going to fold it in half. This way the corn will be symmetrical. Once it's been folded in half, I'm going to take my form and then I'm going to trace around it. And again, depending on your child's skill level, either you can do it or the child can do it. But again, the focus of this activity is the pincher grasp. All right, now that I have it traced, I'm going to cut it out. And ta-da, here is my blank corn, but it's missing its kernels. So now that's what we're going to be working on. I'm going to use this glue, but you can always use a glue stick as well. The reason why I like this one is that it doesn't dry as fast. So I'm going to squeeze it all over my corn and then take my paintbrush, dip it in some water, and then smear it all over the corn. The next step is making the kernels. What your child is going to do is take one of the tissue squares and practice their pincher grasp. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And once they have this, then they're going to place it onto the corn. And as you can see, it's got a lot of surface area to cover with these kernels, so lots of opportunities to practice their pincher grasp. And ta-da! It's done. As you can see, lots of opportunity to practice your child's pincher grasp. When you're finished, don't forget to share your pictures online at facebook.com/autism-live. I look forward to seeing them and see you soon. Bye.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Hi, Lisa Ackerman back with your Talk of Facts, the autism journey questions and answers that you need to help your child make the progress they need. I'm here to talk to you about one really important item. A lot of people ask me the question, well, Lisa, I want to see this specialist in another state. How do I do that? You know, I don't own a jet. I don't have the ability to fly without great pain and travel. Not a problem. We know how to get this done. So I actually encourage families, even though in travel can be a tremendous hardship getting a child with autism through security, through the plane, and in the journey to where they need to go. We have a whole white paper on TACA about how to travel with special needs kids. So it can be done. So travel, we know that can be expensive. Not everyone has an unlimited supply of cash for air flights. We love and work with this group called miracleflights.org. They're fantastic. They will fly you and your child, so one parent, one adult, anywhere in the United States, one time a year. Also in the TACA document are places to stay. So often you will have people in your life that love and support your family and don't know exactly how to help. Ask them to gift you their travel or their rewards cards or coupons for hotel, rental car. That's a great way to be able to get maybe a hotel room that has a refrigerator or a microwave and that's close to a Whole Foods, so you don't have that added cost of going out to dinner, especially if your kid has a lot of allergies. It's important to note that there's not a pediatrician or a specialist by every Starbucks in the United States. Close does not always equal best. So I bring up the travel point so you know that travel is possible, number one, and often it's really going to help you get down the road faster for your kid and getting the answers you need from the specialist that knows what to do. So don't be afraid to travel.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are in the middle of our Festival of Toys, getting ready to really wind this holiday season up, and I'm sitting here playing with Blox. So, and we're being joined right now by Mike Acerra, and he and his wife have homegrown this company. It's absolutely amazing. I think every year that we have done the toy guide, they have had a winner in our toy guide, because we love this toy so much. And I'm going to have Mike explain a little bit about their background, but I've got, my desk is covered here, and I am just in holiday heaven, because this amazing toy, well, Mike, are you there? He is not. He's coming right back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and explain. So do you see these? These are like this is one of the building blocks, right? And I don't know if you can see that it's got these connectors that I can snap these two things together. And from there, it's whatever you want to build, right? These things have movement, the different blocks, and they come in different shapes and sizes now, but I remember when there was just the block. And what I've made here, just in the last, like while we were in commercial, I put together a 4x4 sheet, and I did it in stripes so that you guys could see that there are colors. But can you see that this has got all kinds of movement, that I can make this into this, I can do this with it. While we're talking with Mike, I'm going to continue to add on to this, because there was an entire year in my office where I had, I think it was a 12x12 sheet of this put together, and it sat on my desk. And anytime anyone would come into my office to have a meeting with me, it would be there on the desk. And I can tell you that every single person picked it up and did something different with it. Some people took it apart and put it together other ways. Other people had so much fun figuring out, oh, I can make it fold this way and that way, and I can turn this into this. And it was really, it gave me an insight into how their brain works. But so that's just adults, and sometimes it was kids, and sometimes it was kids on the spectrum. Everyone played with it. But I have seen kiddos over the years play with these that are on the spectrum, and it is something not to be believed. There's Mike. Mike, what on earth? First of all, welcome, Mike Acerra.
Do you notice something's missing from Mike?
I noticed that Mike is a little bit lighter in the hair department. But it's lovely. You certainly have the perfect head for it.
You know, I can wear my Lux bonnets. They look so nice.
I love it. So Mike, in your absence, I was showing them my little sheet that I was building here, but give us a little background about how this, I said that you and your wife home grew this wonderful company and you're doing amazing things. Tell them a little bit about what this is and why you invented it, because it's fascinating.
Okay. Real quick story is we wanted to make a construction toy that imitated nature. And we spent years really looking at nature. One of our heroes was Frederick Froebel, who invented kindergarten back in the 1830s. And he was a progressive educator. He wanted to give kids the best tools because he thought that kids' brains weren't designed to just be told what to think, like the Scholastic era. But like him and Pestalozzi and Rousseau, they believed that children were these beautiful, amazing machines, and God gave us this great brain to make our own connections. So they wanted to give kids tools to make mental connections on their own and form their own circuits in their brain. So he was a geologist, and he knew about crystals. So he brought all his knowledge of science about how nature was put together into the tools he made for his early kindergartens. But again, this is the 1830s, and that was state-of-the-art for the 1830s. But because of his kindergartens, people like Buckminster Fuller, Frank Lloyd Wright, Le Corbusier, the whole Bauhaus movement in Germany, all of them claimed that it was those experiences in those kindergartens that made these people who they were. He basically blew children's minds at the age of 6. And so Heather and me were like, wow, just imagine if we put the technology we know about now and the understandings of nature now into a modern construction toy. And that's what we did. And so Lux uses the same motions and hinges that are like in our hand, revolute joints. So if you take your hand and go like this, and you make a pincer action, that's exactly what these things do, these serous linkages do, which we call fidget flexors. If you see that, that's the same motion as like a ballerina's plie, like the hip joint and the knee joint and the ankle joint, right? So we're a jointed system. Crabs and insects are jointed systems, and molecules are jointed systems. And now it's something that children can play with, and they can make all different kinds of things. Like this is new.
I love that.
Our first Lux Muppet.
I love it.
Pretty good, right?
That's
he's
wonderful.
curious though. He's looking at he's wondering where your voice is coming from.
I love it.
Yeah. So. That's why. Does that answer your question?
It does. There's just so many things about Lux Blox. We could talk forever and never get through everything, but that gives you guys a little bit of background about why it's so cool. And of course, I've been listening, but I've been building because you can't help yourself is the thing. So here's what I want you guys to know. As I said, I think every year we've done the toy guide, they have had a winner. They had a new product this year that we couldn't leave off the toy guide. So you've got these amazing STEAM primers that we gave our STEM award to for school-aged kids. We think it's important, especially for our kids on the spectrum, to give STEAM toys and STEM toys that are for science, technology, engineering, and math. And these, man, do these qualify. In fact, you even have it in the title that it's a STEAM primer. And you have expanded your line so that you have more shapes of the basic building block to make it possible to make curves, which is so cool. And you've added gears and wheels. Talk a little bit about that, Mike.
We did. Well, we added our new wheel. Has on it treads. These little treads and these little knobbies actually allow for a rubber band to go around to make a pulley, and they also mesh as gears too. So our wheels are both, they call them multi-wheels. They're both wheels and gears. I don't have an example right in front of me, I don't think, of that, but you can see here's an example of the Wraith, for instance, one of our motorcycles, and you can really get a good look at how what these wheels do. They're treaded. So you can put a rubber band in there and make a pulley, or they gear together. And that gives kids, and we only have 7 pieces in our whole inventory. Unlike Lego that has 177,000 pieces, and we believe in simplicity. It's another principle of nature, do more with less. So these 7 pieces are very high performance pieces. So we want kids to have early success. And so the nice thing about pulleys is the rubber bands are the belts, so you can have different distances with your pulleys and they always work. So kids can make machines right off the bat.
So there's so many different things you can do with these. This is sort of that perfect gift to give a school-age child on the spectrum, not on the spectrum. But if they are on the spectrum, I have to say to you, because we know that the autism brain works differently. It is so fascinating when you give these to children on the autism spectrum, the kinds of things that they will build. It will blow your mind, right? But don't forget that they're also working on fine motor skills, executive function, planning, cause and effect, and a whole series of things that I can't even imagine because I don't have an engineer brain, Mike. But absolutely amazing. And I understand that you've been taking these into more and more schools. Talk a little bit about that.
Right. We love to take them into schools because there are so many applications to Lux. What Lux does is it imitates nature not only at the motion level, so it'll move like things, but it'll also imitate the natural forms, so like parabolas, pretty complex forms. And kids won't necessarily know. They'll think they're making like some kind of cool, radar dish, right, for some kind of moon rover. But what they're actually doing is they're actually probing areas of geometric solids that they might not ever see unless they go to engineering school. And they're doing it through play. And these things are dynamic. Usually you can only model that like in a computer. So that was the idea. And again, it's about those connections per millisecond that are happening in the brain. And I think that sometimes people, I can't speak as a professional, but I think people's brains operate differently. And sometimes, as you know, people who might be on the supposed spectrum might have it like multi-operations going at the same time, and they prefer to have it that way. So they might listen to someone's conversation better if they have something in their hands that they're building, right? And so Lux really stimulates the brain because it's just, in terms of, give you an example, I mean, in terms of what the eye, as we know, the eye can process a lot more than the ears can. And so, especially through like words. So you'll see something like this, right? Go back up. This is just a sheet of pyramids. If you can see those pyramids. Wow. But together, they form into an arrangement that's very much like a helix, like cell structure on a stalk of a plant or a conch shell, okay? And it's very pleasing. Aesthetically pleasing, it's pleasing to hold in your hand, and I think it's just intellectually wonderful for kids. They just love the fact that this thing is morphing. So you get that, unlike nothing against Lego, I was a Lego kid myself, but these are far different than bricks or sticks. These are shaping like tissue in a forming organism, and kids, spectrum or no spectrum, they love this. But I think on the spectrum, other things are happening, like always there's other things happening.
Yeah, it's amazing, as I said, and I'm just building like a crazy person over here, and having a really good time. And that is what you do with these. You can't help yourself. You sit and build with them. But I think it is amazing when my kid was a Lego kid too, but he would get frustrated sometimes because there was something that he wanted to build and he couldn't do it. There was a system with Lego, and you had to build within that. This takes all of that and gives you infinite possibilities to be able to build, grow, have movement, have curves. It is so fabulous.
It's a different game. We only have 7 parts, but nature has this principle called the min-max principle. So we only have triangles and squares, but within those triangles and squares, you get an explosion of diversity. And every system has implicit limits. Lego is bricklaying. And the rectilinear system is wonderful for things like Minecraft. It's wonderful for logistics. If you have a big box store and you want to ship things from China, you put it on a box boat and then put the boxes on the train. So boxes in our culture are really important, but you won't see rockets being made out of bricks. And you won't see high-performance things being made out of stacking elements because they get their structure from the skin of things. So a helicopter or a car or a boat, usually the structure's in the skin. And that might seem like inside baseball, like that's engineering talk, but a kid will find out right away he's making hollow, lightweight, really high-performance, cool things. And really, let's face it, kids want what we have, the adults have. They want to have high performance in their hands, and that's what we try to give them.
It's so cool, and you could get just the starter kit, or you can get a kit that actually has instructions that, I had one of my employees make this yesterday.
Wow.
Super cool, yes, and
That's great.
he had a really good time making it. So you can get a tube that's got all the things, these primer tubes. This is what we gave the award to because we just thought it was so amazing. These the primer tubes and the steam inventor tube, we just thought they were wonderful. But the truth is, we love everything that they do. But where can we get them, Mike?
Well, you can get them on Amazon, of course, but you could also get them preferably at luxblox.com. Luxblox.com is luxblox.com. It's based in Illinois, where we are. Everything is made in the United States, in Illinois, and we're packaged by a company called Bridgeway, our neighbors, and they employ people with intellectual disabilities, which we love. So you are supporting a local community, and you're also supporting people who have disabilities, but not the disabilities that it takes to package our things. And Bridgeway also employs lots of people on the spectrum for pretty high-functioning, difficult things, like knowing all the different various tags used by people on the highways. So it's a great organization, and we feel proud to be associated with them.
Spectacular. I've made my tube here, and I'm having such a good time with it because realizing that I can make it into a rectangle, and the list is endless of the things. I've had a really good time, Mike. And that's what you will have when you get these toys. Great, great gift for the holidays. I want to remind everybody too that if you want to find this or any of the other toys on the guide and you want something quick and easy, if you go to our website and click on the toy guide, go to the section, and we put this for school age, but the truth is there is no age limit on this. But you'll find it in the school age, and if you hover over the name of it, then it's a hyperlink, and it will take you directly to where you can purchase the Lux Blox. So we love them. We love you. We love your family, Mike, and they're just amazing. We loved that earlier this year you guys got a little bit of a shout out from the Ashton Kutcher's folks that they thought that this was really amazing, and they sort of boosted a video about you guys. We thought that was very well deserved.
And just so you guys know, Federal Express, the shipping company, showed us a lot of love too. We won the first prize this year, the grand prize for the Small Business Challenge. And he told us when they flew us to Memphis that the reason why we won was because of our focus on trying to bring STEM to children on the spectrum. So they're really pushing us to pursue that. And it helped us out with giving us resources to ocular disorders and things like that. So FedEx is a big partner with us in bringing STEM to the autism community.
Now I've made a bow tie. I'm having a really good time. There we go. You can't stop yourself because you're like, what else can it do? And if I unplug this and put this, what else can it do? We're totally out of time, Mike, but I so appreciate you. Thank you for participating with
Shannon.
us. You have a good holiday season.
You too.
Bye-bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we are fresh out of time, and I got about 4 more toys that we need to review. Do we want to go over, Traven, or do we want to push these to another show? Okay, so let's take a quick break so that we can reset, and we're going to stay with you guys. So don't go away. We're gonna go overtime on the show. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For November, we're going to be working on memory with our kids, and what better way than doing a scavenger hunt. The materials you'll be needing for this activity are a camera, cardstock, scissors, glue, and whatever objects you want your child to be hunting for. Step 1, you're the hunter. Find all the objects you want your child looking for and take photos of them. Now that you've collected all the objects you want your kids hunting for later, print out the images and then cut them out and glue them on a cardstock just so they're organized and isolated. Now that the scavenger hunt template is done, put all the objects back where they belong. Remember, we're working on memory, so put them in places that your kids would normally find them. You want them to be successful. We'll make this one really easy to find. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with your kids. Remember, the scavenger hunt is supposed to be a fun way to work on memory. Well, until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
parent, you might be asking yourself, how can I make this Thanksgiving something to be grateful for with a child on the autism spectrum? Well, the first thing that we want to do for Thanksgiving is stop and consider what the child really enjoys eating. Thanksgiving is supposed to be a wonderful food holiday. We don't want to leave the child out of that. So what will they actually eat? And that's what we want to consider feeding them. If they have their happiest food, they're going to be very happy and you'll be happy too. We also want to think of minimizing the schedule disruptions. A lot of times for Thanksgiving, people have this wonderful notion of let's eat dinner at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That isn't really going to be a successful strategy for a lot of our kids on the autism spectrum. So set your meal times at regular meal times, and if you absolutely have to have it at a different time, make sure that you feed the child at the regular time and lower your expectations for what they're going to eat at the actual table. We also want to let go of expectations. Remember that expectations are planned resentment, so let it go and consider starting some new traditions for Thanksgiving. It may be that turkey hot dogs are the new tradition for your family for Thanksgiving, but remember, holidays are meant to be enjoyed for everyone. So find a way that your child will really be excited for this Thanksgiving, and I guarantee you, you'll be more grateful. How can I prepare my child for a successful holiday dinner? It's like we're in overtime with Bill Maher. We're going overtime because we got so much to do. Remember that we shoot on a green screen, so a lot of this box is green in real life. I just want you guys to realize if you're going to look for it. We've got a bunch of toys here that we got to review really quickly, but they're really good toys and they are in our toy guide. Okay, so the first one up is the Learn With Me Count and Learn cookie jar. There's a lot of this different type of toy that's on the market and they're really fabulous, but what I love about this one in particular is that it's super small and it's got a little hole back here that you've got a plug so that you can put all the cookies in it when you're not playing with it, right? Because storing toys is almost as important as does it do good things, right? So you turn it on and there's so many things. So let's count some cookies. See, and I just listened to the instructions and I've got cookies and the cookies have numbers on them, which I can be working on as well. But for now, it's asked me to count cookies. So I put a cookie in, 1. And
2. Can I have another?
There we go. And so I'm working on fine motor, but it's being languaged for me. And so it's counting and I'm learning that. But there are so many games that you can play with this. And one of the things that I really love about this, and every good ABA therapist working with a small child who's gaining language will say that these kinds of toys, and this one in particular, my sign is covering his face. There we go. These are really good toys because there's so many, kids find them very reinforcing, and there's so many things that you can work on. Each one of the cookies has little chocolate chips on them that correspond with the number on the back of them. So for a therapist, we can hold up the number 4 and say, what number is it, right? And the child says 4, and we say, good, now you can put it into the cookie jar, and that's very rewarding for them, right? Or later on, we can say how many when we're teaching quantities, right? Which is very different than number sequence. Quantity is a different concept, so we can have them counting to 4, and I don't have to turn it to look at it because I've got the 4 on the back, right? And I can say to them, pick the one that has 6 chocolate chips. So there's so many different ways that I can work on quantity and numbers with this toy. It's super, super clever. And then when I am done, I put all of the cookies, I can have the child put them in through the top, or I can load it up in the back. I put my little lid on it here, and I am good to go. Now, why is that important? And why do I think that the way it stores is as important? Because when you've got a kiddo and you've got lots of toys everywhere, you need to be able to stop the chaos, because our kids are sensory, right? And if it's nothing but wall-to-wall toys, they won't attend to them and they won't learn. So you need all the pieces in order for the toy to work properly, right? So a well thought out way to store toys, and I like this little locking thing so that when I shake it, it's not going to come out. Fabulous. So this is the Learn With Me Count and Learn cookie jar. It's available in our toy guide right now. This is how it comes, but it's actually, can you see how it's green? So it's translucent there. Okay, so next, We have Light Stack, and of course, I don't remember which award this won, but I think it was the STEM award for teens and tweens. Not 100% positive. So this takes the whole building toy and lights it up. Can you see that this is lighting up? It comes with a power base, and when you put the blocks onto it, it's got different settings that you can do. I want to turn it this way so that you can see. And it gives you the ability to add light. This was super popular among the folks that came to our event. It does come with a charging cord so that you can plug it in and charge it up. But lots and lots of colors, lots and lots of possibilities, and it does interact with other Blox systems. So if you've got a kiddo who's frustrated because they're like, I want the element of light stacks, available on our toy guide right now. Really fabulous. Okay, moving on. We have a wonderful card game that is called Awkward Moment. Now, if you watch, again, a lot of green on this box, right? If you watch, we did a toy review where I went with Nikki Denocker, our very first ever intern. We went to a toy store and we featured this on there as well. If you've ever played Apples to Apples, it's similar to that, but it's like a very interesting social version of Apples to Apples. So basically, there are cards that are called deciders and reaction cards, and then I think there's a third designation, yes. So there's a moment card, right? And so whoever's turn it is turns over a moment card. So for instance, this one says, you think you see a friend coming up the street. So you wave like crazy and yell her name, but when she gets closer, you realize it's not her. It's an awkward moment, hence the name of the game, Awkward Moment. So now everybody has a set of cards in their hand that are reaction cards, and they get to pick the one that they think that would be appropriate for whatever the decider card is. So the dealer turns over a moment card, the thing about you see the friend, you thought it was the friend, and then they put over a decider card. Now sometimes the decider card, this one says most appropriate. So find the most appropriate reaction in your hand to lay down and discuss. But there are some in here that's like, what's the worst reaction? So there's lots of humor involved in this, right? So imagine that the choices that you have is that you've seen this friend and you yell and it's not her, and you have to come up with the most appropriate thing in your hand. But the only thing you've got in your hand is a card that says, make a fort out of cushions, out of sofa cushions, right? That's not very appropriate. And then it leads to discussion. This one says, unfriend them on Facebook. So it leads to people having reactions of, I don't think that that was a very appropriate thing. And the person who dealt gets to decide, well, this one is more appropriate than this one. And it leads to a discussion about social situations. How amazing is that? So this was one of our adult winners. So you can find this in the adult category in the toy guide. Hilarious, absolutely hilarious, and I think super fun even to play with teenagers. We thoroughly enjoyed this game, and who is that brought to us by? That's by Resinime, I'm not sure. But Awkward Moment, again, you can find all of these in our toy guide. And then last but not least, I always love me some VTech toys. VTech, great company that has interactive toys, right? And so this is one of our baby winners. We actually gave this the Baby Game Award. It's so hard to find a game for a baby, but this really qualifies because, excuse me, it's a soccer ball, and yet it has so many things that it can do. First of all, I love the sensory of the crunchy. You guys can hear that, right? And it can play music as well. We don't have it turned on. We do have it turned on.
Black and white.
Oh.
I'm the best soccer player.
There we go. So there's a lot of things on the ball. There are numbers, there are places that you can push in order to get music and all these different things. They can throw and catch this. You can work on numbers, colors, opposites, and cause and effect. It lights up. They can kick it, they can throw it. It's got extra things that to grab with, which we know that that's a really important thing. This is rated for 6 to 36 months. It's from VTech. It's called the Bright Lights Soccer Ball. I just want to put in a word for the fact that one of the things, now we're going to get music. One of the things that we've learned here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders is that, and everybody always knew that there were building block skills that somebody would learn that would be a basis to learn a whole bunch of other more complicated skills. But CARD is really honing in on different types of autism and which building blocks lead to specific lessons so that we can get to the core of a lesson that a group of individuals need to learn. It's not one size fits all with autism, right? So I've talked to you about many times before, we've discovered that there is a group, a subtype of autism of kids who don't have great visual motor skills. And it means that when they go to catch a ball, they find it really difficult. These are the kids who get hit in the face with it and then they're afraid to catch a ball. And that for some of those kids, this ends up being something that makes it harder for them to read, harder for them to write, harder for them to tie their shoes, harder for them to X, Y, and Z, right? All these different things that if we go back to the ball skill, what they've learned is if we go back to the ball skill and work on it in a more reinforcing way that helps them to be able to work on that hand-eye coordination, that the other skills will fall in line faster. So I'm always about a good ball for babies, especially when they have extra things to grip. Please make the ball reinforcing and not something that they're afraid of. So, and this is, you know, whenever you bonk it, it says things. That's very reinforcing. So VTech, Bright Lights, Bright Lights Soccer Ball. There it is. I think it's a great gift for any baby, any toddler. That's all we have for today, isn't it? And we've run way over, but thanks for sticking around with us. By the way, tomorrow's show, oh, you're not going to want to miss this. We have Bailey Worrell. She is from Salis Brand. She's got one of the best functional pretend play toys that I've ever played with. It's super awesome. And we have Eduardo Culp. He is coming to us from North Star Games. We are going to play Dirty Pig, the card game. These are the same folks that did the Happy Salmon, Watch My Head Explode, because I love these games and toys so much. So that's tomorrow. Don't miss that. And then we will be back here on Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.